talking about mind control. Ooh, mind control. So, what is it about mind control? And can we control our own minds? Because you can't control somebody else's mind, can you? You can't control their mind, but you can control your own. Now, this is a phrenological head, I think this is what this is called. And this was about the study of the mind from the outside. And they had the strange concept that you could tell someone's personality by which parts of their head have bumps and lumps and whatever on the outside. And that got me thinking, that can't be true. Can't be true. It's been disproved, I'm sure. But we're not going to go into that study. What I was thinking was, what about the bumps on the inside of the mind? Yes, the bumps inside our own minds and what we could control and what we can't control. And I think that's a really, really interesting point. So I started to make a list and I actually drew on my pad a head, funny head shape, and I put all the things inside the head which I thought I could control, and then started to put the things outside the head which I don't think I can control. Or at least I can control what I think about those things outside of the head, but at the end of the day, it's what's inside the head. So I wanted you to think about that now. So think about the things that go on inside and the things that go on outside. And let's start asking some inquisitive questions, some questions to get us thinking, some questions to get us questioning how we question or questioning how we process information. So I'm going to read some of the things from my list, and maybe as you're watching this, you might want to consider yourself, grab yourself a bit of paper. It's always good if you have a bit of paper or your note-taking app or whatever you use when you watch me here, because I throw out some information, you might want to write it down. And we all know if you write something down, you're more likely to remember it because you're using your eyes and you're using your hands and you're using your senses. You're more likely to remember it. But anyway, so what on the outside what's not in our control? So I thought to myself, right, the actions of others. Now, people do things for many different reasons, don't they? They have their own reasons, their own motivations. They may be doing the best thing they can at the time in their life or based on their beliefs, on their values. And we might not agree with it and what people do, but we really can't control the action of others. And I think if you put a lot of your time into trying to control people's actions, I think you're wasting your time, or you're not putting your energies into a place that would be positive. What you can do is you can help people understand the effects of their actions, and you can discuss and you can say, that makes me feel, or I've noticed those type of positive questions you can ask, but you certainly can't control the actions of others. What about the opinions of others? What other people think and often other people say and express? Now, I went into a supermarket yesterday, into a store yesterday, and they had all the newspapers, the weekend newspapers, all out. And I looked at every front page of every newspaper, and there was not one positive thing that was being said in those newspapers. And I thought, all this is people's opinion. This is happening there. They said this. They did this. My commentary on that is this. And I thought, wow, look at that wall. And I'm going to now call that wall in the supermarket the wall of misery, because it was just negative, negative, negative. And why is it negative? Because negativity and opinion and shock wow factor sells newspapers. That's it. If they put something on the front of the newspapers, the world's brilliant today, isn't it? Isn't it fantastic? Today, somebody was doing an amazing deed for a fellow humankind. Look at the daffodils, aren't they brilliant? I've had a Sunday lunch, which was amazing, which was fantastic. My family have been here all week. Isn't the world lovely and positive? Now, imagine if they put that on newspapers. It wouldn't sell, would it? So those in newspapers are the opinions of others. What about the opinions that people share with you when they talk to you? You might disagree with the opinions of others. That's okay to disagree. I think the important thing is not to hold on to those things, isn't it? People can have their own opinion. I think somebody once said to me, although I have to get this right now, his name was Paul Jacobs. He was a guy that used to run NLP sort of sessions, great influencer and great teacher. And he used to say, it is not my business what other people think of me. So it is not my business, or it's none of my business what people think of me. And I thought, wow, what a nice little mantra to have. And with some of these, I have to say, when we get into the inside of the brain, the inside of the mind, sometimes it's about having mantras and having little sentences or little affirmations, people call them, to fight off what other people think of you or what happens around you. All right, so what else then, these things around you? What about the actual physical things that happen around us? So the rain, it's raining today, the weather, the snow, the sun, it's too hot, it's too cold, it's too wet, it's too dry. People have lots of opinions, only the rain and the weather, but we can't really control the weather. Now, if you can control the weather, please do write comments in the comment below and tell me how you control the weather on the outside. But if you can do that, let's have a chat and let's have a little think about that together. But you can't control the weather from outside. And these things happen around you, don't they? You know, things happen around you. The next door neighbour plants a tree that's in your boundary or whether you really can't control them wanting to do that. But what you can do is you can have a conversation, can't you, about how it's in your boundary and etc. and come to some type of agreement. But sometimes you just can't control what happens around you. It's happened as well. And that leads to my other points about what you can't control. You can't control what's happened in the past. It's happened, hasn't it? You know, I've got the little clock behind me. I get right on the elbow there, a little clock to remind me that, you know, time is a valuable resource, but you can't control time. You know, what's happened in the past is what's happened. Now, bad things do happen, and, you know, how you interpret what's happened to you. And a lot of strength comes from those things that happen to people in their lives, and it might not be easy in the moment, but as time goes on, you know, those old sayings, time's a healer and all those type of things, but you can't really control what has gone on in the past. Likewise, you can't control what comes in the future. And that was the other thing I wrote on the opposite side of my head drawing that I did. You can't control the future. What you can do is influence your actions and what the outcomes in the future. You can have your goals, and you can have your dreams, you can have your aspirations. Of course, you've got to act on those things. Yeah, you've got to act on those things. But, you know, that's the way you can sort of influence the future. But you can't control the future. I can't control what's going to happen in the next 10 minutes. I can sort of control the environment. You know, the internet's on at the moment. You know, I've got a glass of water. I control that. I'm going to take a sip of it. You know, I can control that, but I can't control what's going to happen in the next 15 minutes. I can't control what people are going to write in the comments. And I just have to sort of, you know, just accept the fact. You know, and I think when people live in the future, I think you become anxious. And I think when people live in the past, you become regretful. So live in the now. And then I think the other thing really that, you know, that resonated to me when I was thinking about this is how others take care of themselves. So how others, you know, look after themselves, look after their bodies, look after their environment, look after what's around them. You know, you can have opinions, can't you? But it's their life. It's the way they deal with things. It's the way they work with things. And sometimes people are in maybe what we would call crisis, or that you know, they've got things around them and going in their life that they, you know, that they're finding difficult and a challenge. But really, you know, you can't influence someone to lose weight. You can't. You can. You can suppose you can help them in their thinking, but ultimately, if somebody is not exercising, you can't get them up and get them running with you, can you? You can talk about, you know, exercise. You can influence them by, you know, walking and doing something with them. But I think how people take care of themselves, I think we've got to think about that. I think sometimes that influences our outside feelings. And I'll give you an example because this is why I wrote this down. So there's a person that I know, and they're doing things at the moment and various things. And I suppose they have become a bit of a collector, let's say, a collector of things. And their collection of things has now sort of got to a point where it's negatively influencing their life. And they've got things in their life which they need help, and I've been helping that person, and it's okay talking about them because they're quite public about me helping them, and that's fine. But I can't really influence how they sort of take care of their house and their household. What I can help is asking the questions about what things mean to them and what would happen if we let go of something, or what happens if we donated something, or we didn't buy anything anymore, or we use the things that we had, and the stuff that is there is enough. We don't need any more. They're good enough. They've got enough. They don't need to go and buy new things. They can use the things that they've got, or donate them, or whatever. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I can't really control that, but I can help and I can support and I can work with that person. So we've talked about the things that you can't control. Let's talk about the things that you can control, the things inside the head. So one of the things I wrote on my pad was my goals. I control my goals. I control the outcome of my goals and the things that I am working towards. So many people who watch these videos do a 90-day challenge. They do a massive action plan, and Michael Hebel talks a lot about massive action plans, and that's usually a 90 days sort of slog. I'm using the word slog in a positive term. A 90 days momentum, 90 days doing it now and getting it done and getting things over the line. And it's up to me, isn't it, those goals I set that, so I could set a 90-day challenge for myself, and I could set a really difficult challenge that I know I'm not going to achieve. Or I could set a 90-day challenge, which isn't easy, but it's challenging. That's why it's called a challenge. And I could do something, small steps every day. So that's the way I can control the goals I set. That's in my control, in my head. What about my energy? Especially the energy I give to something or to someone. So I could put a lot of energy into all those newspapers I talked about earlier on the wall of misery. Or I could put no energy whatsoever into the opinions they express. And that's what I chose to do. I chose to notice, but I chose to walk away and think, they're not going to influence me. What about the energy you put into something that didn't go particularly well for you? So went out for dinner and it wasn't particularly brilliant. Well, you have the moment either to eat it, not eat it, speak to the people who made it, or you decide what to do and then you give no more energy to it, no more energy into that. Or what about energy into activities? You have some activities which you just think, why am I putting the energy into this? Would it be better to put the form of energy, which is called money, and I think money is an energy, into paying for that, and then that frees up some energy for myself, because money is just about exchange, isn't it? It's not about the little gold coins or the little pieces of paper, is it? It's about what it represents. So you know what, if you can afford it, have a cleaner come into your house twice a month maybe, so they come and do the cleaning, and then it leaves you to do things, to do other things, and other things in how you use your energy and your time and your money, etc. So what can you control with your energy? I think what you certainly can control is your boundaries. Wow. Or if you take anything away from this chat today, is what boundaries do you have and what can you control with your boundaries? So the boundaries perhaps may be work related, what time you start and what time you finish. Home related, what about that boundary you may set up, putting in, spending an hour with the family, or in your time management, so you're blocking, what half an hour, 15 minutes can you spend reading some pages of an excellent book? And you set those boundaries. Those boundaries are that you maybe won't eat any chocolate Monday to Friday, but Saturday you'll really enjoy a wonderful, delicious bar of chocolate maybe. There's a boundary, but then obviously there's a point when you can change, not break the boundary, but you put a boundary around something. And I like to think, if you think of a boundary as like, you've got a field, you've got some sheep in the field and there's a fence around them, they can't get out, and the boundary is there, but then when it comes to, opening the gate, they can all come out of the gate and the boundary is lifted. So what boundaries and how do you do that? So You know, the boundaries of telling people that you don't answer social media after 8 o'clock, or you're not online after 8 o'clock. And the best way to do is just don't reply. Don't reply. It may sound a bit harsh, but then people start to realize that you perhaps don't pick up your phone after 8 o'clock at night. What other boundaries? Maybe you write some boundaries that we could set. I'm really interested in boundaries. So put in the comments maybe some boundaries that you've set yourself that would help anyone else watching this little chat and video. What else? Well, actually, I'm going to end because I've been on for quite a bit now. So you can see I'm excited about this. And when I bought my little head yesterday, it doesn't talk. I'm not going to do a ventriloquism. Hello? You're not meant to move your lips, are you? But anyway, that takes me to the last point. Talking. You can control how you talk to yourself. Yeah, so what you say to yourself and when you say it, you can control. Now imagine some of the things we say to ourselves, we wouldn't dream of saying to our friends, but we say it to ourselves, don't we? Oh, Steve, you're stupid, or oh, Steve, you should have done that, or oh, Steve, this is, and you sort of say your own name and speak to yourself, don't you? You know, oh, you idiot. Have you ever said that to yourself? Oh, you idiot. You wouldn't say that to your friend or your mum, would you? Or your dad or your partner? You wouldn't say that. So just think about how you speak to yourself. You know, I try and use the word, instead of problem, we try and use the word challenge because it's more positive, I think. You know, I could be more healthier. We talk a lot about that in this group and in other groups. And, you know, how can you speak to yourself more positively? What's a positive word that you could say every morning just to say, you know, today is going to be fantastic, or today is going to be amazing, or I'm going to have a super brilliant day today. What words could you use to wake up to? What words could you use to go to sleep to as you're taking what I do every night when I just try and go off to sleep, and I've got a really good sleep routine that I go off to sleep within 5 minutes with it. You know, some breaths in and I release the day, and then just say some positive words as I'm falling to sleep, and just I think it sets you up, and you know, certainly it allows me to have a good night's sleep. So how do you speak to yourself? So folks, we've been talking a lot today about mind control and the things outside of the mind we can't control because they're outside of the mind. But what we can control is what's on the inside. You can control your boundaries. You can control the goals you set, how you refer to and handle different challenges, what energy you give to something. Obviously your own thoughts and your own actions, because you are in control. And then how you finally speak to yourself.